Most of us grow up believing that great writing means big words, complicated sentences, and a touch of poetic flair. We assume that if you can sound sophisticated, you can convince people to listen. Take a recent campaign by an ad agency hired to sell a mass-market liquor brand. The writers went all in, creating a highly sophisticated, high-concept narrative steeped in tragic romance and classical poetry. The brand manager rejected it almost instantly. The primary target audience for this liquor consisted of daily wage workers looking for straightforward stress relief at the end of a long shift. They weren't looking for literary analysis. The writers treated a commercial project like personal art. They let their own creative egos obscure the actual business objective, which was simply to sell a product to a specific group of people in a language they actually use. If artistic expression and clever phrasing don't actually convince people to buy, we have to look at what does. There is a specific, largely invisible science to copywriting designed to prompt action. Historically, high-status writing was synonymous with formal, ornate prose, the kind of dense material you'd expect from a traditional newspaper, like The Statesman. Modern commercial writing operates on the core rule of radical simplification. Think of an elite educator taking a dense academic theory and translating it into an intuitive idea. A professional copywriter does exactly that, stripping away grandiloquent terms so a product's features become instantly understandable to the masses. This requires a complete mastery of language mechanics, primarily so the writer knows how to intentionally break grammatical rules to create a smooth conversational rhythm. Punctuation is used strategically to control the reader's taste or force a dramatic pause. Words are chosen for emotional weight, rather than obscure sophistication. A product might involve highly complex engineering or dense financial structures, but the expression of that subject must remain radically simple to make people take action. Getting a reader to act means tapping into their subconscious desires and their specific cultural context. That requires deep market research. This research helps find the correct emotional hooks for a specific region. Research reveals a critical distinction. The person who uses the product is often not the person who holds the purchasing power. This vintage Lucozade ad is a perfect example. It's a children's health drink, but ignores taste preferences. Instead, it speaks to adults, promising to replace lost energy. It targets parental aspirations, framing it as invaluable in sickness and in health for growing children. A copywriter operates as a practical psychologist. They engineer the decision to buy by framing the product as the direct solution to the purchaser's underlying, often unspoken, needs. To answer why a consumer should choose one product over a dozen identical competitors, writers isolate a unique selling proposition, or USP. This diagram illustrates a saturated stainless steel water bottle market. If every competitor focuses on temperature retention, they blend together. But when one brand pulls forward, highlighting neglected features like a BPA-free construction or ergonomic lid, basic specs transform into compelling promises of safety and convenience. How this USP is executed depends on market awareness. A brand new, innovative product requires heavy education on how it works. But for an established category like water bottles, the copy skips the basics and leans into brand storytelling and competitive differentiation. Driving action requires translating a list of basic physical features into undeniable, emotionally resonant advantages. Today, commercial copy has to serve two masters simultaneously: the emotional triggers of human readers and the strict rules of digital search engine algorithms. High-intent keywords must be strategically woven into headlines and body text to answer specific search queries, all without destroying the natural readability or the flow of the persuasion. This graphic outlines the AIDA framework: attention, interest, desire, and action. It's the analytical structure writers use to map out a passive reader's journey and logically arrange those persuasive arguments into a conversion funnel. Within that rigid structure, the writer uses storytelling to sell the aspirational lifestyle or feeling the product promises, looking right past the physical specifications. Because these psychological triggers are so effective at bypassing logical filters, the craft relies on a foundation of trust. A single deceptive claim or a cultural insult doesn't just fail. It destroys the brand's credibility, making ethical integrity a survival mechanism for the modern writer. Professional copywriting functions as an integrated, interdisciplinary capability. By leaving personal ego at the door and aligning creative talents with market strategy, the writer turns everyday ideas into the stories that drive measurable audience action.